Uber just paid New Jersey $100 million. Uber has agreed to pay New Jersey $100 million in back taxes after the state said the ride-hailing company had misclassified its drivers as independent contractors. I'm gonna be honest, I did not know that drivers in New Jersey are now classified as employees, not independent contractors. As you can see on this article, this is from 2019. Basically, in New Jersey, the drivers are employees, not independent contractors. So this was actually an issue, and again, I didn't even know this, that happened, years ago, and Uber had to pay, Uber owes the state of New Jersey about $650 million in back unemployment taxes because they're now employees as opposed to being independent contractors. Looks like this happened again, as an audit by the state's Department of Labor and Workforce Development had found that Uber and a subsidiary, Riser, owed 4 years of back taxes because they had classified drivers in the state as contractors rather than employees. On Monday, the department announced that Uber had paid the taxes with interest. This is super interesting to me for a couple different reasons, I'm going to be honest. One, it's weird that this happened a few years ago, and they paid all this money. They paid hundreds of millions of dollars, and now they're doing this again. I feel like it's this weird situation where Uber just keeps trying to get away with it, so they don't have to pay all this money because now their drivers are employees. So it's kind of interesting that this has already happened, and it's weird that at first it was $650 million, and now they're like, hey, you do this again, and you only have to owe us $100 million. Still a lot, but it's weird how Uber is still trying to avoid this as much as possible. Here in California, for example, Prop 22 passed a few years ago, and that made Uber and Lyft drivers stay as independent contractors. I've talked to a lot of drivers here who do DoorDash, Postmates, Grubhub, Uber, Lyft, Uber Eats, etc., etc. Almost all of them hate it. Almost all of them are like, why were we not employees? But as you can imagine, Uber and Lyft spent an insane amount of money with all this marketing. I'm talking millions of dollars, I believe, in marketing, just so drivers would stay as independent contractors. Because as you can imagine, it's a lot better for Uber and Lyft's wallet if drivers stay as independent contractors versus employees. The second thing, which is super interesting to me, is this is showing that times are heavily changing when it comes to being a rideshare driver. Back in the day, you were only an independent contractor. It was this kind of vague thing, I feel like legally we didn't really know where to put rideshare drivers. Are you a taxi? Are you not? Et cetera, et cetera. Now though, being a rideshare driver is a profession a lot of people are pursuing. I mean, hey, look at all the videos I make. There are a bunch of other videos on YouTube about being a rideshare driver as well. Ride-sharing is continuing to blow up. And I've done a couple of videos about should you be an Uber and Lyft driver. I've done one every year. That's kind of like a yearly video I make. And honestly, one of the first things I bring up, besides the pandemic, which I think is over, hopefully, knock on wood. Is this wood? But one of the biggest factors that I think a lot of people overlook is being an employee versus an independent contractor. And at least here in America, and this is what gets even more tricky, it's a state-by-state thing. New Jersey, you're employees. Here in California, you're not because of Prop 22. Now, who knows? Maybe that will change in the future when it comes to Prop 22, because in my opinion, it's, for lack of a word, predatory, where I feel like they're taking advantage of drivers. It's super annoying though when it comes to California, especially when you look at how big of a gig economy it is in the freelance market. As you can imagine, especially here in LA, you have so many people working on random side jobs and doing freelance activities, especially in the arts and entertainment. Prop 22 said, hey, you know what? Yeah, those can all be classified as employees depending on the terms, whatever. But besides rideshare drivers. So it's like every other gig person gets at least some type of benefits except rideshare and delivery drivers. Super annoying. I am hoping maybe there's like a second proposition that overrules that, but we'll have to see. But this is a big thing. I think the fact that this is happening in New Jersey shows that, hey, a lot of states, if like say you do become employees, are saying, hey, we're not just gonna casually let you treat them as independent contractors again and again and again. You have to treat them as employees if they're classified as employees. And I think this is both a simultaneous subtle yet big sign that maybe employees and being employee status will not be a state-by-state thing. I mean, it still might be, if you look at California versus New Jersey, like I said, but this may be a federal thing as well. I wouldn't be surprised if someday in the future, maybe a year, 2 years from now, tough to say, there's a federal law that gets put in place saying, look, enough is enough. If you're a rideshare driver, you are an employee. You get benefits. You get protected, so on and so forth. But until then, and this is where things get super tricky, this does vary state by state.